So we're live. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here with us. My name's Tyler Ellison, and I am joined by my two amazing friends, Marcia and Yahaira. Thank you both for being here with me this day.
Thank you, Tyler. Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah, very excited to be here with all of you again.
Yeah, we have a lot in store. We're going to be doing a live Q&A. So that means all you guys have to do is type in your questions into the YouTube chat, and our hosts will read the questions to Ryok while I'm in the state, and then we'll be able to, get into a really deep Q&A. So I really encourage you all, think of the most exciting questions you can, really organize them, formulate them so they're very specific, very clear. So that way the answer Ryok brings forth can also be very specific and clear to what you're interested in. So we have some exciting news as well. We're going to be doing our Ryok event this month on the 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for folks who are in Europe who want to be here live with us, you will be able to. This time won't conflict with your bedtime, which is really nice. So you'll be able to get a good night's sleep and dive into these Sasani teachings as well. So really excited about that. I don't know much about what this new transmission is going to be called, so I'll let Ryok bring that through. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the channeling state. Yahaira, are you able to see the chat? Does it look like it's functioning and is all good?
Yes, we already have questions coming in,
good.
and I'm sharing it in the Facebook group, the link, so everybody else can get it too.
Perfect.
We're ready to go.
Right. Sounds good. Okay, everybody, I'm going to dive in. I'll see you at the end of this transmission. I hope you all have a great time. It is our species' highest joy and passion to be able to speak to y'all through this channel, this day of your time. We shall announce our upcoming transmission, which shall be titled Belief Systems and Reality Co-Creation. And in this transmission, we shall get very specific with all of you in relationship to how your belief systems as an energy create your experience of physical reality. Because understand, your physical reality projective experience is nothing more than the embodiment of what you believe in the most. What you believe in the most is what creates how you experience your physical reality. And we will begin to describe how individual beliefs and collective belief systems align and co-create together. And we will begin to talk about different levels of consciousness that are above belief. Because understand, from our point of view, belief systems, while they are the building blocks of how you give rise to experience in your physical reality, there are levels above belief systems that the beliefs are designed to assist you in discovering. And this will get into the level we have called the level of knowingness, which relates to the point of view of the higher self, the point of view of the soul, the point of view of your oversoul. For when you use positive belief systems that align you energetically with your higher self, you then begin to function like your higher self, as long as you represent those positive belief systems through actions. So when you believe in ideas that are truly natural to who you are, and when you express those ideas through action, you then channel the higher self. And your ability to channel the higher self then grows and grows and grows. So you can then allow more light in. And that light translates as greater levels of intelligence, such as the soul, all the way up to the oversoul. But it is the higher self that is, in a sense, the first step in that process. And it is the belief systems that you utilize that allows you to take that first step. Because if you are using beliefs that are disempowering and are taking actions that are disempowering, then that, in a sense, cuts you off from being able to take that first step. That is the channeling of the higher self. So there is much to discuss in this transmission. We think you will all find it very educational, and it will be, for many of you, very useful in relationship to really understanding how your consciousness works, how your physical mind works, so you can use the physical mind as a tool, so you can exist in a perpetual flow state, because that's actually how you're designed to experience physical reality. Many of you experience physical reality with just the mental level being active, the realm of the beliefs, the realm of the thoughts, the realm of the feelings. However, when you remain in that level, you are not fully allowing in the higher self. You're not fully allowing in the soul or the oversoul. So we will be describing to you how to let go of attachment to the physical mind so it can serve you as a tool, so it can serve you as a foundation that you stand upon as you then gaze upwardly into the higher frequency realms, enabling you to more easily again experience the higher self, the soul, and the oversoul. We thank you for your attention thus far in this description of the transmission. And we now make ourselves available to each of you for whatever questions you are excited to present to us this day of your time.
Hi, Ryok. How are you?
We are ecstatic and delighted to be able to interact with you and all members of your human family. How are you this day?
Very, very good. We have lots of questions already.
Oh, how exciting. Let's begin with your curious questions.
The first one, is it what we consciously choose and assume to be true that is our reality? So I can choose anything, including things like eye color.
Well, the idea is that certain things are relevant for you to experience and certain things are not. Now, on the highest level, you have chosen your eye color. On the highest level, you have chosen your body. On the highest level, you have chosen your family. On the highest level, you have chosen every single thing that you will experience in your physical life and more. Now, understand, when you are on earth, when you are experiencing yourself as the incarnated being, you get to choose how you will experience the things you have already chosen. Now, how you experience those things has a great deal of customization built into it. You can create all types of different phenomena. You can create all types of different experiences that allow for you to explore the themes you have already chosen in a way that's unique to you and in a way that relates to your free will. Now, some things are not necessarily essential or relevant for you to experience in your physical life. Those will be the things that you do not experience. Those will be the things that you do not create for yourself. The things that are relevant to you, the things that are a part of your growth and your evolution, those are the things you're guaranteed to experience as long as you choose to be yourself. Because if you're not being you, how can you possibly explore the things that are relevant for you? You can't. You must choose to be yourself first, and then you become a vibrational match to all that is relevant to you. And here's something really fun that we like to remind you all of. That which is relevant to you vibrates in resonance with the frequency of passion, joy, and ecstasy. So when you choose to be you, that's what you're aligning with. Experiences that translate as that. So understand that certain things like your eye color and changing this can be something that you create for yourself using belief systems. However, understand the way that it manifests might actually be very different than how you might expect. For example, you might purchase colored contact lenses, and that might be how you explore changing your eye color. There may be some type of new body modification technology that is eventually developed in your species that allows for you to manipulate the eye color. That could be another way that it manifests. But remember, if it's truly relevant for you to experience that kind of change, as long as you're in the vibratory state of passion, it will show up in some way. It might not be the way you expect, but it will show up one way or another. And in our upcoming transmission, we will describe more about this and more about how your belief systems as an energy create like experiences in your physical reality, because that's how your beliefs create, based off the premise and principle of like attracting like. We thank you for your question.
That was an awesome answer.
We thank you for your attention in the answer, for it is likely to serve you in many ways. There's many layers to this because it's representative of you, and there's many layers to all of you.
Next question. Will the first stages of open contact occur on Earth or in ships? If on Earth, at what point can we go on ships?
All right. Understand those first initial stages of contact are already occurring. Many of you are having dream experiences where you are on board craft. Those are real experiences. You might be remembering them through your imagination, through your physical mind, but that doesn't mean they're just make-believe. The memories you have of on-craft experiences are translations of astral encounters that you're having with hybrids and other beings. Just because it's astral doesn't mean it's not real. When we say you're having an astral experience, we mean you're shifting your frequency to match the astral realm, because that's where many of these beings exist, the high astral realm. And through you on Earth raising your frequency, you begin to resonate more greatly with the high astral realm, so you can experience that reality overlapping on top of yours while you're awake physically. So that's already occurring. That has been occurring for some time for many of you, and it is an essential step in relationship to physical open contact, these astral craft experiences. Now, as you move closer to the window of open contact, contact will begin to occur physically. And this means different beings will begin to appear. Some may simply teleport onto your planet and you will experience them directly without needing to experience their craft. For other species, you may experience their crafts first. It is likely you will first directly interact with the pilots and members of a craft before you actually go in to the craft itself, because the craft itself represents energetically the collective consciousness of the entire crew and the species that is connected to the craft. So that energy will be more intense. So it is likely first you will interact with the beings. As you get used to their vibration, you will then experience the craft because you'll be ready for the energy of that, and that will build, and eventually you'll be able to travel to other realities and other worlds as you get used to it. Because if you do it too early in a physical way, it can be detrimental to the integrity of your physical body. It can overload it with energy. So this protocol, this process is designed with the intention of assisting you all in taking baby steps. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, until you're ready. It's just like the idea of feeding a child baby food and then transitioning feeding the child with adult food. The body must develop. It must become ready. It must become able to handle those bigger energies. So contact is the same here. So you're all walking hand in hand in this process. Some of you are really leading the way in this. You're pioneering it. You're diving into these energies. You're experiencing them so your collective can have greater access to them. And that accelerates this particular process.
Next question. When we talk about a soul being part of a soul family, does that mean a specific version of a soul or all versions of that soul that are connected from the oversoul?
All versions of that soul.
Nice. I hear that by being a starseed or meditating in a certain place and simply being around people can affect them energetically. Bashar says we cannot affect others unless we have a belief that we do.
Well, the idea being that you put out certain frequencies, you emanate certain vibrations. Just like your body radiates heat, your consciousness radiates energy. It gives off a signal. Now, individuals in your reality whom are subconsciously or consciously saying to themselves, I'm ready to make a shift. I'm ready to be more positive. I'm ready to take a step in my truest direction, will then feel the energy you're giving off consciously or subconsciously. They'll sense it and they'll then use it as a permission slip to be able to take that step, to be able to level up. And individuals whom are in the opposite point of view, whom say, I'm staying where I am, I don't want to grow, I'm going to remain in this frequency, will experience no effect. They will have no elevation in consciousness. So it's not that you're affecting these people. It is that you are sending out a frequency and they are then choosing to either be affected by it or to not be affected by it. Many of you are now choosing to evolve, to grow, to expand. So it is experienced by many of you as your consciousness, when you really raise its frequency, seeming to transform environments, seeming to transform your communities. It's not that you're causing it to happen. You are presenting a door, and many individuals in the community are ready to walk through that door, and they are choosing based off of their own free will to walk through the door. You've made it easier for them to do that.
Could you speak upon utilizing the sun rays to support us as we evolve? I feel there is much benefit to consciously connecting with the sun when one is outside.
Yes. Well, understand it's important to work with the sun when it's not at its strongest, because it gives off a great deal of radiation and it also gives off a great deal of psychic energy. So when the sun is at its highest, that is the least ideal time to be working with it. It's ideal to work with the sun when it is energetically cooler, because your nervous system, your energy system can handle the cooler energies for longer periods of time than it can handle the intense energies. So working with the sun during the sunrise, working with the sun during the sunset are useful times to really absorb the prana and to absorb in the photons. Full body exposure to the sun is ideal. We know many of you live in populated urban areas where that may not be appropriate for you to experience. So understand as much exposure as possible, ideally on the chest, ideally on the back, where there's a great deal of surface area. These are the most important areas for the sun to make contact with. And understand that you can also breathe in the light of the sun into your energy body. Understand, whether you're aware of this or not, the pores on your skin take in not just energy, but also oxygen. You will literally absorb oxygen and energy through your pores. And you can train yourself to breathe through the pores, the sunlight into the body. Your energy centers can also breathe. So you can breathe in sunlight into your chakras. Mainly, the third eye chakra is very specific to the solar energy and can absorb the solar energy very well. The solar energy also has a connection to the heart and the solar plexus. So there's many different ways you can play with this. It is best to really work with teachers whom can guide you in opening up the energy body so that when you take in the sunlight in this way, the energy can evenly move through you and not accumulate. Because if there are clogs, if there are blocks in the energy system, and this energy is introduced, it can stagnate in certain centers and create imbalances. So it's really important to make sure energetically you have opened up the channels, the meridians, the pathways in the body. So when you bring the solar energy in, it can easily move through you. But there are many ways to bring it in. There are many ways to play with it. So have fun with this. It is your sun that shares with you a wide variety of different aspects of information that are related to other realities, other dimensions. And in many ways, the sun represents, celestially speaking, your species' higher self. So when you really align with the solar energy, your own higher self can more easily work with you, but you also begin to tune in consciously to the higher self of your world, the higher self of your species. So you can really understand not just your personal North Star, your personal direction, but the holistic direction for your entire people.
Nice. Do you see the people that gather here that follow Ryok getting together in a community?
It is likely, yes, at a certain point.
How much closer are we to open contact? Has time span shortened a bit? Do you have a date in years?
It is set to begin around 2023. At that point, the veil will be incredibly thin. So craft sighting phenomenon will increase, dream encounters will increase, and isolated small scale contact experiences that are physical will begin to occur for individuals that are gathering and are ready for such energies. The important thing here is to really allow for yourself to release belief systems that resonate with fear. Because when you carry fear-based ideas, it stimulates subtly or overtly, depending on the nature of the fear, your fight or flight system, your survival system. So if you hold on to fear-based beliefs, because your fight and flight system will be more active, it will be more challenging for you to interact with extraterrestrials. You might translate the energy in ways that are inaccurate and in ways that to you instigate more fear. So in order to really be a match for contact each day, let go of fear. Use your breath. Inhale love, exhale fear. Give it to the earth, give it to nature, so your planet can break it down and assist you in really stepping into the directions that you prefer. Let yourself let go of these energies that no longer serve you each day so you can become empty of them. And when you are empty of fear, interacting with extraterrestrials will be much easier. It will be much more accessible. So once 2023 occurs, once you move through that point, the rate of contact will be in your hands because we will be there. We will be in your skies. It will be obvious. However, it is you and your willingness to allow love in and to let fear out that will ultimately determine the rate of contact. So once you move through 2023, it's in your hands. And we, of course, will be holding your hands, encouraging you to be who you are.
Awesome. Can you give me more insights on hand healing? The left hand is the receiver and the right hand the giver, right? The left hand absorbs energy and the right is gives it off.
For most individuals, yes. However, if somebody's left hand is the dominant hand, that will actually be their sending hand, and their right hand would then be the receiving hand. So it really depends on the person. When you really feel into your body, you'll feel which hand is best suited for which function.
It's my understanding that we incarnate bringing with us a certain percentage of our spirit energy to Earth. can we consciously choose to bring in a higher percentage?
Yes, absolutely. When you choose to be yourself, when you follow your joy, it's like you're opening up the aperture, like you have a lens that you can close or open. And as you choose to be yourself and follow your joy, the lens opens and more light comes in. That light you translate as the energy of your spirit. So you can absolutely allow more of this in. All spiritual techniques, all spiritual tools, all spiritual paths are designed to assist you in doing that. Because when you really open up all the way, and again, it's gradual. It's a gradual process. When you really open up all the way, you see through the eyes of your spirit while you're on earth. And you have what you consider to be an enlightenment. You recognize that you are dreaming the entire reality. Everything is you. And as you shift your energy, the reality shifts accordingly. And you begin to recognize you are lucidly dreaming the physical reality. So you can simply shift your energy to create shifts within the dream. So you can absolutely allow more of that light, more of your spirit in. It's all about your way, though. You may align with a certain tradition. You may align with a certain path. You may channel in for yourself different techniques that assist you in this. It's your way. Use ways that are exciting to you, that resonate with you, that are holistic to you.
If all that exists is happening in the now, does that mean reincarnation does not exist? That we are just perceiving parallel realities from a different point of view?
Correct. You're experiencing the idea of different simultaneous lifetimes in a linear way, making it appear as if one self becomes another over time, over lifetimes. But that's just a perspective that is based in the idea of linear time. Technically, your past lives and your future lives are happening all at once. Now, from the soul level and the oversoul level, you can create the idea of that linear incarnational experience. And that's useful. That's why you all identify with that direction of time, because it assists you in understanding your soul and oversoul's themes through story structure, becoming oneself, then becoming another, and then becoming another. It allows for you to have a sense of continuity. It allows for you to have a sense of character evolution. So there is utility in observing these things linearly. However, many of you get caught up in the linearity. And you will say, oh, because my past life was this, now I must repeat that theme in this one. Not necessarily. The utility in seeing past and future lives simultaneously is that you begin to recognize you can connect to any lifetime in the now simply by matching its energy. So you can channel one of your highest future selves to assist you in transforming lower vibrational energies that may be connected to different past lives or are connected to themes in this life. So you're not bound by the linear sense of incarnation by any means. You can create that experience, and that might be useful for certain purposes. But from our point of view, it's useful to remember they're all happening at once, because that enables you to consciously have greater access to whatever parallel reality lifetime you believe will serve you the greatest in the now.
What can you share about hypnosis as a way to bypass the critical factor to change beliefs more easily in terms of what is happening mechanically?
It can be a very effective way to create great shifts within your subconscious. Because when you are really playing with new belief systems, if you haven't released the old ones, then what ends up happening is you utilize beliefs that feed into realities that you prefer and realities that you don't simultaneously. But with hypnosis, it allows for you to go deeper into your subconscious. So you bypass the physical mind altogether. And when you are deep in the subconscious, you have access to what we call the core root level. This core root level represents levels of your consciousness where core belief systems are stored that then generate on their own through you more and more and more progressively superficial belief systems. Hypnosis can bring you to that core level so new belief systems can be inserted into it, which will then generate their own belief systems that are more superficial in nature, that then begin to blossom into your life in different ways as you act them out, consciously and unconsciously. When you attempt to introduce new belief systems while you are still using the waking physical mind, your normal brainwave state, what ends up happening is you may be unconsciously utilizing belief systems that are in resistance to the new ones. So you might be saying a particular affirmation, you might be using a particular idea that is exciting to you, but you might not be buying into it all the way because you're simultaneously buying into something that says that can't possibly be true. But with hypnosis, because you're quieting the physical mind, you're relaxing all of those other belief systems, you're entering right into the core level, you can create a new program that can be just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the other programs that are written, so to say, that you have chosen. Now, it is important, again, to remember that in order for the hypnosis to really work, you also must buy into the idea that the hypnosis can work and that you're capable of changing in such a way. So there's many levels to this. With all of these permission slips, it is best to really become as neutral and allowing as you can to go into a state of excitement and openness, and to then engage the permission slip, then engage the tool, so you can align more powerfully with the reality that you prefer, and you increase the probability of that tool assisting you in experiencing that preferred reality.
In general, how much of someone's life is predetermined and how much is free will in a percentage?
It cannot be calculated in a percentage because the entire structure of your physical life is already determined. Now, remember, we're saying structure. Think of structure as a home. You're the one that gets to design the interior of the home. You can decorate it however you wish. That's what you translate as your free will and your ability to make different choices in the reality. Now, at a certain point, you can align vibrationally with that oversoul level. You have that ability. You all do. And you can actually begin to edit the structure. You can make an addition to your home when you are a vibrational match for the oversoul. So it's not something that can really be calculated in percentage because there's a great deal of variability between how one individual might experience structure and free will and how other individuals may choose to experience that. So understand, you are the one who has set up the themes. You're the one who has set up the path pre-incarnation. You are also the one, the incarnated being, that goes through the structure, that walks the path, that gets to make different choices, that gets to create different experiences within that structure. And at a certain point, when you are high enough in frequency, you can edit the structure while you are still incarnated. So have fun with that idea.
Next question, how to heal someone from advanced Alzheimer?
Well, understand, this particular issue is something that requires multi-level assistance, because when someone has developed such a condition, oftentimes it has to do with lifestyle imbalances that have accumulated over time. This might be dietary, it might be emotional, and it also might relate to the idea of toxicity. In particular, toxicity, both chemical and emotional. And these things build up to such a point, because they're in energy, they then manifest physically somehow. And for many individuals, they manifest as plaque in the brain. So the key here is creating ways to break up the plaque. There's many different ways to do this. Vibration and sound represent one way. Light therapy represents another way, but remember, it's important to also pay attention to the idea of the things that lead an individual into that state of consciousness: emotional wellness, dietary wellness, and body cleanliness. These other things are also important to consider here. Now, remember, we're not medical professionals. We are extraterrestrial beings being channeled. So it's important that should you attempt to remedy such a condition, that you really work with professionals whom are trained in this. There are all types of different modalities that exist here that can serve individuals who have developed this issue. So you don't have to go it alone. And oftentimes when you work with inspired professionals who are passionate about healing, the probability of the transformation can actually increase, because in that moment, you have multiple people aiming their attention into the preferred parallel reality shared amongst all parties. So the probability of transformation in a positive way then increases. But those are the things to pay attention to with these types of conditions.
What is that pine the Anunnaki held on those stone drawings? Human pineal gland?
Yes, in particular, it represents the idea of an externalization of multidimensional awareness. It's a symbol to represent multidimensional thinking, multidimensional possibilities, multidimensional channeling, multidimensional embodiment. So the Anunnaki beings holding this in many ways symbolizes them being the divine embodiment of those capabilities. And of course, them being depicted in humanoid form also represents that all of you are also the carriers of such capabilities. And through accessing your innermost self, that is beyond words, that is beyond thoughts, that is beyond concept, you begin to awaken the pineal gland through the heart, thus enabling you to create in very powerful multidimensional ways.
What are the throat and root chakras of the earth?
There are many locations. It's not just one. So understand, technically, what you consider to be your South Pole represents the root chakra for your planet. But it's one location that resonates with what you consider to be the energy of the root chakra. Your planet's crown chakra would be what you consider to be the North Pole. Think of the planet as a body. Now, there are going to be many other locations, again, that resonate with these particular centers. The throat chakra, one moment, we're tuning in to see which locations are most relevant at this time to disclose. One location that relates to the throat chakra is the area known as Austin, Texas in the United States. Again, it's not the only one. There are certain locations in India as well, northern India, that also resonate with the idea of the throat chakra. You can tell, remember, you can tell. The way you can tell is to simply pay attention to the types of individuals and the types of cultural trends that take place in a specific location. And you can begin to tell what type of energy center is connected to that culture and is connected to that society. So when you think of societies that are very expressive, that are very creative, that are very big, this can represent a society that is proximal to a throat chakra center or a sacral chakra center. So if you can think of a culture that is very much based in the idea of love and acceptance and openness, curiosity, this is a culture that is likely proximal to a energy center on your planet that relates to the heart chakra. So you can begin to understand some of this when you study people, when you study populations, and you'll find there are many different centers active throughout your planet that correspond with different chakras. So it's not just as if one location represents one chakra. There are many locations that have connections to a specific chakra.
I had a ship collecting soil outside my window in a field nearby. I was able to see it, but my sister, who was standing next to me, was not. She looked to me in a hypnotic state. Why?
Well, understand, you shifted your consciousness in a way that allowed for you to peer into a unique parallel reality where the craft existed. Her consciousness was unable to detect that because she was not a vibrational match to it. The hypnotic state you perceived her to be in represented her consciousness being tuned to another parallel reality different than the one with the craft, so she would be less likely to notice the craft. So she was in many ways fixating her attention upon a different parallel reality that the craft was projecting specifically so she would not notice it.
Please, could you explain how physical reality is really just a virtual reality?
Well, it's in many ways similar to the idea of a interactive video game. What we mean by this is you are given certain choices in your physical reality life that ultimately determine how the movie, how the story plays out. Some of these choices are external, such as the physical actions that you take. However, many of these choices are internal choices. These internal choices represent your state of mind. They represent your energy. They represent your beliefs. They represent your emotions. They represent your alignment with source. These are all internal choices because you get to choose how you experience those things. So based off of what you choose and how you choose, you then direct your character through the physical reality life. There's no, in a sense, predetermined path. There is a predetermined structure, but you are the one that determines the path being how you move through the structure, what you do on the path. That's totally up to you, 100% up to you. It's only beliefs that limit your allowance of your free will that create the experience of the situation being otherwise. You're the one that determines your choices. You're the one that determines how you move through the life. Now, understand that when you shift your internal choices and when you shift your external choices to be in alignment with your higher self, you will then find many different levels of the reality begin to change. And that's because the physical reality is nothing more than a mirror. And when you change the facial expression you're making in the mirror, the reality around you must begin to change. And if you really stay determined, focused, and consistent in the energy state that you're embodying and demonstrating internally and externally, you'll notice many things in the reality changing. And that's a change you're giving rise to. It's not that you're changing the reality, but you're changing how you're expressing yourself, which then changes the experience of the reality. And that's how you shift the quality of the projection, the subject matter in the projection, the story you experience within the projection. Whatever story you're telling yourself that you believe in the most becomes the nature of the projection. And that's another way you can begin to observe this. Many of you will create the experience of playing certain characters within your story. You might create certain beliefs about your jobs, about your responsibilities, about your purpose. And you will find your entire life orbits around that structure. But should you change your beliefs about those things, you will notice the story begins to shift in a radically different way. And that's another example of how you are creating the reality experience. You are creating what goes on in your life through story, specifically through story. And again, in our upcoming transmission, we will get into this idea more in-depthly so you can rewrite your story, so you can create new ideas, so you can create new themes for yourself.
How the statues of Easter Island were made and moved, and what we would see inside the buried installations deeper underground the island.
They were moved through vibrational technologies. Some of these technologies you would translate as instruments, different musical instruments that would be played that could displace gravity in a sense, thus allowing stones and rocks to levitate. Similar technologies were also utilized to carve the actual structures. Deep beneath the earth, there are chambers that exist connected to these structures that are in many ways representative of different temple spaces. They are not quite catacombs. They are more so the idea of temple sites that contain artifacts, that contain instruments, that contain tools that are specifically designed to alter consciousness, that are specifically designed to invoke certain forces, certain energies into the reality, so those energies can be channeled through people and expressed in different ways.
Who did draw the Nazca lines?
These were illustrations that were created by ancient people. These people go all the way back to pre-Atlantis. These are sculptures in a sense. These are designs, forms of art, forms of ritual that are connected to early Lemurian colonists. And the power of these sites, the power of these illustrations was something the Atlantean settlers and colonists who eventually made their way there recognized. So they kept them intact and continued to feed them energy. Specifically so, different forms of consciousness connected to the subject matter of the lines could then easily flow forth into the land to create, again, all types of different energetic effects. So individuals ultimately could channel those energies through them and express them in different ways to shift the reality in ways that represent the subject matter of the designs.
What planet were the elongated skull beings from Paracas from?
These beings are connected to Sirius in particular, mainly Sirius B. There's a few different planets there. They're not limited to just one. These are the same types of beings that have interacted with the Aboriginals. These are the same types of beings that have interacted with the Egyptians. These are the same types of beings that have interacted with the Atlanteans.
Who made the eye in Argentina? Is it natural or artificial?
This is a natural center, and we have spoken about this before, but we'll speak about it again. It's a natural energy center that has entangled with it different types of nature spirits and ancestor spirits that are feeding the energy center a great amount of energy. Specifically so, the phenomenon created as a result of it draws attention to the area. Because as more people pay attention to it, as more energy is fed into it, a certain type of energetic effect can then be created for your collective. The location visually looks like an eye. So when enough members of your species begin to give it attention, it as a symbol begins to activate your species' third eye. So it's an earth portal that's specifically designed to assist you all in awakening. It's specifically designed to assist you in opening up your third eye and opening up your pineal gland so you can begin to interact more deeply with your planet. So your shamanic capabilities can become more dominantly expressed so you can more greatly represent your preferred version of Earth.
I want to know who Abraham is and which dimensional plane he belongs to.
Ask him. That's not our job. We're not going to speak on behalf of another being in that way. Ask this being.
Can you tell me about the history of the spheres and their placements in Costa Rica?
One moment. These spheres are quite ancient. They're not quite as old as some of the Atlantean structures that still exist on your planet. They are younger than that. They are connected primarily to earth energies. They're not so much connected to the idea of a civilization. They're not so much connected to the idea of a culture. They're more so similar to the eye, a phenomenon that has arisen due to the idea of earth energies working with your species, specifically, again, so your species can really awaken to different realities. So your species can awaken to different possibilities. These formations are designed by nature itself, nature spirits, ancestor spirits, elemental spirits, to grab your species' attention so you can begin to recognize the life and the intelligence that flows throughout nature. For many of you, see nature as a thing rather than as a being. And this is a creation of the being that is your Gaia and her children. So you can begin to recognize that there is much more than meets the eye in relationship to what you conceptualize as nature. In many ways, when you begin to study the how of how these things came to be, which eventually your scientists will do, it will assist you all in learning how to densify matter from energy, how to create in a way that is similar to how the earth gave rise to these spheres.
What does it mean when a person develops an allergy to something natural like pollen? Can you recommend how we can help ourselves to not experience allergies?
Well, the idea is to allow for yourself to live in harmony with nature, to live in harmony with your body, and to live ultimately in harmony with yourself. When an individual has developed some type of allergy to the environment, it can relate to them being out of sync with their wellness, as well as being out of sync with the energy of the environment they're in. So there are many different ways an individual can approach this. They can approach it from a chemical standpoint through changing their diet, through changing what they're eating, through changing their emotions. They can begin to come into greater alignment with the energy of nature. However, they can also begin to interact with the land itself. There are different portals, earth chakras all around you. You can make certain offerings to the land, make certain requests to the land, asking for guidance in how you can live in greater harmony with the community, how you can live in greater harmony with the planet, with the spirits that are present in the environment. And when you make those changes, once you receive the guidance, you may find the allergies completely dissipate because you'll be synced up with the land. You will be an extension of the land. You won't be in contradiction to it. You won't be in resistance to it. So there's many ways to approach it.
I have heard that there have been cases on Earth when two persons have exchanged bodies. I wonder how that coalesces with the idea that the first manifestation of a soul theme is our DNA.
Well, it represents the idea of matching the frequency of another being holistically. If you begin to really vibrate in resonance with the holistic energy of another being, you can create the experience of actually being in their body and moving their body. This is a very intimate process. It can be done. It's all a matter of resonance. It's all a matter of vibration. And of course, it's something that occurs through agreement. Another being has to agree to that type of experience in order for it to even be possible. But it can be done. It's all a matter of matching the frequency. But to really operate another person's body in that way, you really have to match the frequency of every level to them. That's why we say it's a very intimate process.
Can one invent things if they lived life without necessarily having any kind of formal education of things like engineering, coding, program? Can one grasp this knowledge through the higher mind?
Yes, it is possible. There are entire books that are coherently, fluently written by authors who did not speak the language the books were written in. So that is possible. Again, this takes a certain level of consciousness. It takes a certain level of energy, but it can be done. Because once you know the energy of whatever it is you wish to express fully, and you let go of how it needs to come out, what it needs to look like, it will naturally express however it needs to express. So whoever needs to receive it will be able to receive it in whatever way they need. So it's really a matter of raising your frequency, knowing holistically the frequency of what it is you wish to channel, and letting go and letting it flow. And that's how some of these spontaneous understandings and creations manifested, simply through allowing the body, allowing the mind to be an instrument. So the idea and the intelligence behind it can then play the body and the mind like an instrument.
So it's 1:28 your time already.
How exciting. We have made it through almost an hour with all of you. We will take one more question.
Okay. How will channeling evolve? Telepathy?
Well, that's already happening. That's how the channel is translating my information. It's through a telepathic link. So it's not just through my link with the channel that the channeling state evolves for him. It's also through him evolving his own consciousness, through living in a way that represents his own higher self to the best of his ability. And that's what allows for the state to become more expansive. And then each time he channels me, I'm able to feed more energy into the connection. So more shifting can take place, which then creates a positive feedback loop. It creates a circle between me and him. So as that continues to gain energy, the circle, the channeling state, gains more energy and it expands and it grows. What really evolves channeling is an individual's willingness to represent the energy they channel in every dimension of their life. That's what evolves the channeling, because then there's no longer a difference between yourself and the intelligence you bring through and you channel. Now, channeling has many forms. Not all of them are demonstrated here by me through the channel's body. Some channelers can use what you consider to be telekinesis. They can move objects in the space that they are in. And things like this may become a little bit more common as greater allowance of the energy is then permitted. There are some channels that can actually bring through visual energies. Colors, beings, forms, shapes can actually be seen around the channel while they're in the channeling state. And again, that's another version of it. And these things may become more common. The reason it's not something that is always detected or experienced through channelers whom are a part of modernized societies has to do with, again, the idea of some of the collective belief systems that say such things are not possible. So when channeling takes place in very intimate spaces, all types of different things can happen because the collective consensus reality is not really as much of a factor in the experience. And we will be getting into more of that in our upcoming transmission. We thank you for your exciting question. And as always, our species, unconditional love and gratitude to each and every single one of you this day of your time.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. Okay.
Welcome back, Tyler.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
Very much. You know, I was reading the comments, and it's awesome how they create their own thing, because there are people saying, "Oh, he already answered my question," and someone else said, "No, he said this," and like we're creating this bubble here, but they're creating another bubble. So it's just so fun to see.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's really fun being on sort of the giving end of all of this stuff, because you said it exactly right. We're sort of in our own bubble of just sort of generating and sharing, and then it's really cool to see the bubbles of receiving and what people are creating, and then what people give rise to from the information. I think that's my favorite part, is what people do with this, because this is where all human creation came from ideas. So what's coming through here is ideas. So it's like, what do we make now with this information? And it's always exciting to see what happens.
Exactly. Yes. Beautiful, awesome questions as always.
Yeah.
Very much for joining us. Like it's a pleasure for me to share all of this, because I can feel all the interactions, the energies, and it's just it's part of the expansion. So I'm really grateful.
Yeah, thanks Yahira. Marcia, thank you as well for being here too. It's great to have you here, and I'm so happy we all get to share this space and
yes,
do this awesome stuff. It's so much fun.
Yes, it is awesome. It is very, very exciting to be here each time, and thank you all. I can feel like the community each time I connect with you, and it's awesome. It's like family. It's like connecting with family.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us this day. This has been really fun, really exciting. I hope to see you all at the event. For tickets, email me at tellison700@gmail.com. I'll be posting that email address in the description on YouTube, so check back there. Again, you can also check out any of my older videos. That email address is right in the description, so you can get it from there. But tickets are $35, and you'll get a Zoom link that will give you access to the transmission, plus you'll get the recording. So if you buy a ticket, you get the recording. You get to keep the recording, so you can watch as many times as you want. So got lots to look forward to.
See you the 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, see you then, everybody.
Audience.
Have a beautiful day, everyone. So much love and gratitude to each of you.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tyler, Yahira.
Bye, Marcia. Bye,
Thank you,
Tyler.
Marcia. Thanks, Yahira.